Welcome to Journey Through the Gate, your paranormal portal podcast, as we delve into the many questions and wonders brought on by the supernatural experience. What's on the other side of the gate? Let's find out together.
Hello. Welcome in. How you doing, Steve? How you doing?
Great, Cisco. How are you? Hey, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Look at, oh, man, we've got so many people in here already. That's what tonight's all about. Now, this is a surprise for our gatekeepers, our live chat, and our people here and listening. Tonight is all about you guys, because Steve and I, and all the shows that Steve does, and all the people that buy our books and listen to our stories and listen to us ramble on, we're grateful for you guys. What am I thankful for this week? Family, I'm still breathing, and I love this chat. How about you, Steve?
Yep, all the above.
We got TD in here. We got Grey Wolf. We got Patriot. We got Maraid. We got Carol and Jackie. You see anybody else up in there, Steve?
Donnie Cho, Carol XO.
And Glenn?
Tyree, Chris Jarvis is here.
Hello. How you doing, Chris?
You're like the romper room lady with my magic mirror.
No, everybody's in their underwear, too, I guarantee you. That's great. Hey, Gray, how you doing? Okay, so this is it. Last week I promised that I was going to do a couple of designs for the Gatekeepers, since y'all picked Gatekeepers. And I said I would do a couple designs and I'd throw them up there on the TeePublic. Well, yesterday I threw them up and all heck broke loose because they were having a 35% off sale, and it was only till midnight last night. So last night I kind of just snuck in the chat. Don't tell anybody, but if you're interested, go look, because if you're thinking about it, now's the time. So we had a couple of gatekeepers that ran through that gate last night like it was Black Friday, Black Ops mods running in there and grabbing the stuff. So tonight I thought that I would show you the designs. Now, I was going to have you guys pick, but I figured why the heck not just throw them all up there and let them pick what they want out of the thing. You know, Steve, if you want a mug.
Sounds like a plan.
Right? So there's several different designs. And tonight, the episode art, if you got to notice and look real close, the Gatekeeper's at the gate. It's the same gate that's on the cover of the book. And Crispy's offering the scary Gatekeeper a flower, just like in Frankenstein. So it's kind of a little homage to Frankenstein in their gate is flower. But let's see what we got here. Janet snuck in here on us. How you doing, hon?
Yeah, Jeanette, hey, what's up?
Jeanette, how you doing? Okay, let's see what we got in the kitty. Let's reach in here. Let's not get bit. Let's see what's up. Here we go. This is for you guys, the Gatekeepers. That's my favorite one. Enjoy the journey, Steve. Isn't that what we say?
Yeah, indeed.
Life's just a journey. Enjoy it. Enjoy your journey through the gate, your episode. Kind of fit, doesn't it?
Yep.
So there's your three. Now, the t-shirts are pretty good. I suggest, if you're getting a square on a black, it's a little stiff for me, so I do the lighter colors or get it on a hoodie. But the cups, the canvas bags, the stickers, they are what they are. They're fantastic. I love the bags. But the mugs are my favorite. So go in there and see the mods already drop in links. And it does have the Holy Shirt guarantee now. If you don't like it, send it back and they'll give you credit for it. So it's kind of a no risk. They've really upped their game on their customer service here in the past couple years. So I feel good about it. How about that? So we've got some new designs. That's all for you guys on the Gatekeepers. I think they're cute as a bug. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I love them all. It'd be hard to pick just one. So we'll get one of each.
Yeah, get one of each. Get the mugs. And, I really like the travel mugs. I'll tell you a couple secrets, though, real quick about TeePublic. If you go in the t-shirts, or where the hoodies are, if you go in the t-shirts, they do have baseball, the long sleeve, and all that kind of stuff. But What I like are the hoodies. You go in the hoodies, there's 3 different kinds of hoodies. There's the one over your head with the pockets. Then there's a lighter weight one. But the one I like is the one with the zipper front and the designs on the back.
Yeah.
So those are the ones that I've bought, and they've been really good quality. And like I said, they were 35% off last night. I don't know. Sometimes they extend a sale, but get in there and check. Thanks, Jackie. Thanks, Mods, for dropping the links to that. Get in there and see what you like. I mean, if you're in the position, you can get something like that. I do promise you the money goes right to StreamYard, right to internet, right to. I don't have to pay broadcasts and stuff anymore. But you got to pay for something if you're doing this. You can't get out. Nobody rides for free, right, Steve?
That's right.
It all costs.
Ask grass or gas. Nobody rides for free.
Nobody rides for free, man. I remember that on the back of the custom vans in the 70s.
Yeah, vans with the shag carpet in the back.
That's it, man. It's like you had to have something. I usually had a good old joint. It was the 70s. So there you go. Oh, Jackie says there's a sale going on. Hang on. What's she saying here?
Yeah, one of each.
The sale's going on. I got one of each. Isn't that awesome? Thank you so much, Jackie. Crispy and I appreciate it.
And I think they have other items over there. You can get it on boxer shorts or a thong. So
I think it's
around
got
in your underwear.
Nope, it's got notebooks. I love the pillows too. I went in there and looked at the pillows because it's so.
Pillows from there before. They're nice.
Yeah, it's really nice. The design looks good on
those
there.
Canvas book bags are awesome too. I got one of those.
And here's another click. It's the same price if you get it on both sides. Opt for both sides on the bags and the notebooks or anything like that, or whatever. And the stickers are great. I go around sticking them in different places and stuff like that. All the other stuff is there too. The original logo and everything else. So that's one announcement. Second announcement. We got monetized. Thank goodness.
Yay.
I mean, I wasn't shooting for it, but gosh, if we're going to do it, if we can make a little bit, great.
That's just money on the table if you don't. So
what I said, and it was a low crawl. I mean, it took years to get there because there's so many stipulations. They have to have hours watched and all that. It's not just subs, and subs are important, and watch time is important, and I appreciate it. And that's all to you guys. Without that, we wouldn't have gotten the watch time, the subscribers, the likes, the back and forth in the chat. It all helps so much. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So I did those designs as a thank you to you guys. You guys are my gatekeepers, but we're also gatekeepers in life too, aren't we, Steve?
Indeed.
It's like enjoy the journey. Is Grey Wolf and I were talking about it. I think it was yesterday. That's what we say anyway. This is like I'm of a mind that this is like school. We're supposed to enjoy the journey, learn along the way, help each other along the way, and that's what we do in this chat. So I couldn't be more thrilled. Thank you guys so much. I don't know if you're seeing
congratulations.
The dollar sign at the bottom. Eventually it'll pop up. I've got it on all of them. But second of all, I need you guys looking out. I don't want so many commercials on the shows that replay, like past episodes that have been loaded up and streaming. I've seen them where they have so many ads. Just let me know what your experience on your end is, because I'm just learning about that. And if I can cut it back to where it's not a bad experience, let me know.
Yeah, and it places them automatically, but you can go in and turn that off and put them just where you want them.
Cool, because I'd rather not have, I don't mind one popping up in the beginning that you could skip if you're not interested after like 3 seconds. Everybody can do that. I think that's fair. I do that all day long on other videos. But the ones where it's every minute or every 2 minutes, I've seen, and we all know what I'm talking about. It gets crazy. So anyway, there's 2 big announcements. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm very thankful for all of that, because that means we're putting something out that you guys like, and nothing could be more important, Glenn says, just don't mention children or they'll demonetize, among other things. Well, I just mentioned them.
Oh, there
now
you
I'm
go.
in trouble.
Now you're done.
I'm done already. That was fast. Well, we had a good run, folks. If you don't like that, you're really going to hate this. Wait till you see what I got coming up here next. Now, forgive me if I pull up the wrong video, but now if you hear bacon, I hear we might, something else I wanted to do for the chat as a surprise guest. Hopefully that person can make it. If we're in the middle of something and I yell bacon, that's our word. He's popped in, and we're going to finish up and get that person in. So who knows what's going to happen?
Kool-Aid.
Who knows what's going to happen? Oh, I hope I picked the right one here. Okay. So I thought it would be fun too last week, looking through the stuff, trying to find out, about gatekeepers and all that stuff and ideas for the designs. I came across some things, man. This chat says some things. And I don't always catch it, so I go back to look to see if anybody needs a prayer or an extra hug. Is anybody having a hard night? You know, did somebody reach out to them? They always do. Everybody always reaches out to everybody here. So, you know, and if it's a private convo between two people, really, I don't get, you know. But some of these chats that I've missed, they're almost too good to let go, Steve. So I thought we'd come up with a little segment that we're going to do every so often. When I go back and do something like that, catch a couple, I got to bring them back. So we're going to resurrect them. Take a look at this.
Okay, this should be good.
So, a gathering of gatekeepers, resurrected renderings. What are they saying in the chat? What did we miss? What little bunches of gold, wits and wisdoms did we miss along the way? They're pounding those keys fast, Steve.
There may be some people sneaking out the back door.
Oh, this is going to be great. And there it is. Look at them all. All right, there's our little intro. So that's going to be our little segment that comes up back and forth. So for our segment 0001, this is what we have. Hang on to your seatbelts, folks. Hang on. I was rolling. So let's see what we've got here. Gatekeepers Gallery, number 1. And that's great. All right. Now, sometimes it's just little things that are too important to miss and let go. When you and I, Steve, were talking about Night Gallery and I think Dark Shadows and all this other stuff, quietly off in the corner somewhere, Chris Jarvis just puts out this little bit of wisdom right here.
Yeah, I remember seeing that one pop up.
Man lives in the sunlit world of what he believes to be reality, but there is, unseen by most, an underworld, a place that is just as real, but not as brightly lit. A dark side. Everybody remember that one?
Yeah.
Everybody remember, here it comes. Tales from the Dark Side. And I was like, man, that's so good. Brought back memories, didn't it, Steve?
It did.
Yeah. So thanks, Chris, for that one.
Here's another show called Monsters that went along with that. Do you remember Monsters?
Yes, I do.
Same production company. It was good, too. It didn't last as long. Tales from the Dark Side was great.
It truly was. And here's one from Andrew Gnome's Trucking Express. If you check out Celebrity Ghost Stories and look under Larry Minetti, the guy from Magnum P.I. that played Rick, he has an interesting call from the dead. Now, I read that and zapped right back. I missed it the first time around, but zapped right back. Remember what we were doing last week? Phone calls from the dead, right, Steve? Mm-hmm. And I thought, you know what, Andrew? Okay. I think I'll take that bait. Hold on one second. All right, now come on. Who's not moving? Come on.
The mustache that inspired every cop.
I know. It was a great show. It was a great show. It was a great show. So I said, hey, why not? So I went and I looked it up. And here we go. Call me if you need anything. Now listen. What it was. Oops, I lost it. Right here. Hold on one second, guys. Larry Minetti, he was shooting a movie. He goes to a little town. And they're all eating together and having a good time. And there's this waitress there. And he really takes to her. She's sparkly, can't do enough. And everything is terrific. He's kind of taken by her. So he says, hey, I think what I'm going to do is invite her to, she seems kind of lost. I'd like to invite her out, show off a little bit, invite her to lunch on set tomorrow. So he writes his name and number and his room in his hotel down on a piece of paper and gives it to her. And he says, he's talking to her. He says, listen, I mean it. If you need anything, call me. So she kind of smiles, and her face kind of like washed over with like a foreboding. And he, enough for him to step in one more time and say, I truly mean that. If you need anything, just call me, you know. And then he left. And there she is looking sad. He leaves and he goes to the hotel. Now, while he's at the hotel, we thought about it, but he just moved on. He's got a lot of stuff to do. A couple more weeks of shooting, and he's done with this movie. So he goes to bed. And he's woken up by somebody banging on the door. Really loud. Bang, 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 bang. Like we were saying last week, police bangs. So it happens a couple times. The second time it happens, he goes out and he looks around the motel. He looks next door, and he can see in the window that the guy's in bed, so it couldn't have been him. He goes around the other side, and much to his surprise, it's the last room on the end, so it couldn't have been anybody from over there. Nobody could have gotten up and moved so fast. So now he's getting the willies, right? He goes back in the room, and the room is getting cold. He says it's 85-something degrees outside. He's getting cold drafts. Then, as if it's not enough, the phone starts ringing. It's creeping him out a little bit, but he answers it. He says, hello, this is, Minetti. And all he hears is the whooshing and the static and the white noise and the crackling. And he hears from behind, like way behind all that noise, a little help me, help me, help me, in a woman's voice. Far away, he said. The second time it happens, he turns around and there's the waitress standing in the room with him, looking disheveled and unkempt. And of course, like the sparkle has run out of her face and her eyes. He starts to realize, oh my God, what's going on, trying to piece it together. He's standing in the room with her. All of a sudden, the door busts open. And it's the police. Are you Larry Minetti? Yes, I am. We've been trying to call you. Your phone isn't working. Phone isn't working? What do you mean the phone isn't working? Your phone isn't working. We've been trying to call you. You've got your, there's this dead girl. Your number is in her pocket, right? He goes, what do you mean? The phone's been ringing. The cop goes over, picks up the wire, and the wire's cut. That's why they couldn't get through. He's astonished. They take him down. They question him. Everything is fine after a couple hours. They believe his story. They let him go back to the hotel. He finishes the movie. And right before he's ready to leave, the police call him back up. And they tell him that the girl that they found dead in the alley behind the restaurant, the one with your number in her pocket, her ex-husband killed her and cut her throat from ear to ear. And left her to die.
Well, I thought maybe Larry did it.
No. But can you imagine, though? And here's his number in his pocket.
It's because they knew who did it. Otherwise, he would have been suspect number one.
Right. And they found it on her body. And he thinks, and I do too, after listening to the story a couple of times, that last minute, it was just an hour or so after he had left, and everybody left with him, which was his alibi and stuff. But that short connection with a stranger, that he really cared, made that enough of a connection for her to reach out to him. And right before she left Earth, that she had a little bit of that kindness. And I think that's kind of cool. And Larry says, well, after all, he said, I did tell her to call me. She did.
You gotta put the music there.
Well, there you go. There you go. How about that? How about that, chat? Well, we've got bacon, which means our special guest is in there, so we're going to finish up here. So to finish off with our gallery, Gatekeepers gallery here, I had asked what was the name of the woo guy, the wrestler, Steve? Well, many people in our chat, Patriot here, Salvador, Kai, everybody got Ric Flair. That's who it was. Ric Flair was the guy. The story I want to tell you about that was somebody I used to be married to was in jail with him, and boy, he told me some stories. And I'll tell you, how do I put it nicely? He was not the one with the pocket being held. He was holding pockets, if you know what I'm saying.
Uh-oh.
So there you go. So, woo!
Always kind of wondered about that.
There you go. The next one, again, I want to emphasize, I love this with everybody throwing out bacon. We got Jeanette here throwing out pancakes and bacon, a little drool, and Aunt Edna always, and a lot of other people. So much love being thrown out here. Can't thank you enough. So you guys definitely get the bacon heart for all the love. Now, Melissa, I chuckled on this one because I thought this was the best use of emojis for the subject of the show.
Phone calls.
Little ghost phone calls. So you get the emoji award for that. All those great emojis.
She's on the money there. I just want to point something out real quick in the chat. Are you kidding me? Said they're just recovering from cataract surgery.
God bless them.
Before I had that last year. And I hope you got the intraocular lens implants. That's what I got. These are just reading glasses. I don't have to wear glasses at all or contacts. First time since I was 5 years old. If they offered that to you, or if you can get it at another time,
there you go.
Do it. They took the cataracts out, put the lenses in, and boom, done. They only did one eye at a time. But
all right.
I had cataract surgery from looking at CRT monitors of computers for the last 30
That'll
years.
do it, man. Yeah,
these
get that
new
stuff.
ones are safe, but the ones back in the 80s that were the size of a TV, yeah, they were bad.
Terrible.
Sorry
all
to interrupt
right,
you.
that's all right. We got a couple more here, and we got bacon in the hold room. So hang on one second. Here we go. So that was the emoji winner. Now, sometimes you also get the philosophical thinkers out there, and we had one last week by this gentleman right here. Oh, wait a minute. I skipped one. This was it. The holiday messages. We're finally getting the heartfelt, warm holiday messages. We got Thanksgiving next week, and Mairead did not let us down. It's almost Christmas. Tell me I've been naughty, bad Santa. Now, for your holiday messages,
that's not surprising.
For your holiday heartwarming message, thank you so much, Mairead, for that. And happy Thanksgiving and happy holidays to each and every one of you. Okay, here is our deep thinkers, and it would be this gentleman right here, Donnie Chow. I wonder if the reason Satanists are so rich and powerful is because they have actual demons who can hack people's bank accounts.
You know, an interesting story. Yeah. Back in the day, I knew some hackers that were trying to get root access to a Unix system. They consulted a Ouija board. Oh. Ouija board spelled out Rambo.
There you go.
They tried that. That was the password.
No.
That let them in and
wow.
Root access on a Unix system.
Well, like Donnie says here, I guarantee, of course, they sold their souls. Those demon hackers don't work for free. Isn't that true there, Donnie? And then we're finishing up here with Mr. Ian. This was one that just very subtly snuck in this dark mystery all by himself. Only one home, watching a movie in the living room. The Furby started having a conversation with an empty room.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's just creepy.
Those things are
and
evil.
Here he finishes up with the next piece. I threw Furby over the fence and shot it. No sense taking any chances.
I agree.
And our last and wonderful Mr. Ian again with Southern tradition. Police knocks will get you shot. So there we go, guys. Our first Gatekeepers gallery.
Oh, those are awesome.
I enjoyed the hell out of those. So be careful what you put. No matter what you put, I love you anyway. Much love and bacon to all of you. And without further ado, I think, Steve, that we should get our surprise guest in here.
Hey, Kool-Aid.
There he is. There he is. Let's bring him in here. Chat, you've talked about him a lot. You said that he was one of your absolute favorites, so I reached out to my dear friend, Mr. Rob Guttrow, and brought him in. Hello, Rob. Welcome in.
Hey, Rob.
There he is.
Hi, Cisco. Hi, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Steve Stockton. This is Rob Guttrow. I know you've each heard of each other, but I don't know if you've ever been in a box together like this.
I
have
don't
you?
think so.
No, we've never been boxed in together.
There you go. Well, chat, there you go. Everybody's yelling, surprise, Rob is here. And I think it's fantastic that you took time out of your day to come and say hi. And everybody's saying hi to you and sending you lots of hearts and love here. Here we go. Oh, gosh, everybody's so thrilled and surprised. Well, that's great. Well, I feel like even though we had 2 hours last time, we never got to touch your on your book, the other book that you wanted to talk about, and I felt bad I didn't have the picture of one of the best orb pictures I think I've ever seen, and I don't know if Steve's ever seen it, and this kind of stuff just really intrigues Steve. So, you know what? Why don't we just give you the floor? Where do you want to take us tonight, Rob?
Well, you just threw me for a loop.
I'm sorry. What would you like to talk about? Because I remember last time I cut you off and we didn't even get to talk about your last book. I've got your lovely book here, The Ghost of England, which is, oh gosh, it's fantastic. Right here, if everybody can see. Oh, my green screen, there it is. Isn't that beautiful? And there's so many of them, and I didn't know, we don't want to bring up the one in Washington because I know we're going to be doing that in Christmas with the ghosts you saw there. We're looking forward to it. So I thought maybe, what book would you like to talk about? What stories?
So I'm looking forward to talking about the ghosts of Christmas past when we reach December. But so I guess one of the things I could talk a little bit about tonight is how the spirits of our loved ones come around. Like in my latest book, the Ghosts and Spirits Explained, there's a couple of really significant chapters in there that I think people would find fascinating. And one of them is about how my dad, after he passed, immediately he was at his own services, and he helped me prove to my family, my mother and my brothers who don't have the gift, that he was there at those services. So that's a pretty cool story, a pretty cool chapter.
Nice. Now, how did he do that? Can you tell us a little bit of how he, a little taste of that, how he showed? Was it making his presence known to those at his service, or something else afterwards?
It was afterwards. So one of the things, because spirits who have crossed over and ghosts who are earthbound are beings of energy, basically with a conscience, a personality, memories, knowledge, and so forth in this life. Because they're energy, they can manipulate energy, as you know. So they can play with electricity. And back in 2008, it was August 2008 when my dad passed. My husband Tom and I drove up there with the dogs and stayed with my mom during the week of his services. By the way, they live 400 miles away. So anyway, when we were staying there, my dad decided that he was going to let us know he was there. He did that by playing with the electricity. So the first thing he did was he shorted out the plug that where the coffee maker is plugged into. Now, I'm a big coffee guy. I live and die by Dunkin' Donuts. So the first thing I go to when I come into a house is the coffee maker. So I thought that was kind of ironic that suddenly the plug just blew out, the outlet.
Yeah.
So my mother said, "Why did that happen?" She said, "That's never happened before." And I said, "Well, I know who it is."
Yeah.
So fortunately, I'm married to an architect who knows how to do electrical work and so forth. So he was able to, replace the outlet and fix the plug and so forth. But then my dad kept playing with the lights. He kept flickering them. One in particular he liked to flicker was a hall light, a light that goes down a long hallway to my mom and dad's room. So he did that because he knew that it would always get my mom's attention. And what's funny is, even though he did it while we were there, he after this, long after the services, for years and years, I would be on the phone with my mother, and she'd be walking down the hallway on her portable phone, and then she'd stop and she'd cuss at my father because the light in the hallway was flashing. And she had 2 electricians come out and check that light, and it would still flash when my dad wanted to let her know that he's still around.
It's something. And sometimes it's subtle things like that. And sometimes it's like moving a picture, like it might be of them, and just knocking the picture over, and you pick it back up, and you knocks over again to pick it back up, and you're not thinking it's them trying to find a way to say, "It's me, it's me." And we think, I've said this to Steve a lot of times too. You think that, gosh, they would just make it so easy on us, write out a hand letter and tell us everything word for word, or when they speak in EVP, they would make themselves clear, or write out the whole message in the bathroom, not just, but it's not that easy for them, is it?
No, absolutely not. And it all goes back to energy, because it really takes a lot of energy for them to communicate, and they have to draw that energy from somewhere. So the places that they do get it from are heat, light, water, and electricity, or they get it from our emotions, because our emotions are basically energetic. So love, faith, and hope fire up spirits. If you have a ghost in your house, though, fear, anxiety, depression, and anger give those ghosts the fuel to communicate with you.
Now, did you hear what he just said, chat? Listen to how simplistic that is. It's so simplistically complicated, because what he just said is spirits get their energy from love and hope and faith and all those higher vibrations, and earthbound spirits get their energy from the lower vibrational emotions and things that just we react to them just out of fear, or our adrenaline pumping. I can imagine. That's amazing to me. And you just put it so simply, but that's exactly how it is. But it is amazingly complicated at the same time.
It really is.
Isn't it? Yeah. I was wondering, I know we're jumping around here, and I can't remember what book it's in. You know the picture I'm talking about, the orb that has the face. This picture goes with a story that I think is incredible. I would love Steve to be able to hear it, because he's not been here when you've told it before. And it was a couple of years ago, so there's definitely new people listening. And I think it has several different layers in this story, Rob. It's a different perspective, got some vantage points from those involved that are living, yourself and the other people involved, and then also with the earthbound spirits and things like that. Would you be kind enough to tell us a little bit about that story, and I can show the picture and this time, and everybody can get the idea? Awesome. Would that be cool?
Yeah, I think the picture you're talking about is in the double murder ghost investigation.
Yep, let me see if I can pull that up. So we're talking about the same one.
If you look down right here, this is the book it's in.
Okay, can you see that?
Yes, you can see that.
Okay, chat, can you see that? I made it big. I cut off a little bit off of this one side, but I wanted you to be able to see it. The way Rob has it here, you can see the eye in the shadow. You see the eye, the nose, the mouth, the cheek, and the chin. And all of this, Rob, is in... Where did you see this? Where did this picture come from?
So that's in my book, Case Files of Inspired Ghost Tracking. That's one of our most famous cases. And there's a haunted house on the front of it.
Okay.
But so we were called into a house that had that was having all kinds of crazy things happen. Like it was a mother and father and a couple of kids, and the sheets were being pulled off the bed. Somebody felt someone touch their feet. They saw, some of them saw shadow figures walking by. And there were all kinds of things that were unnerving to this family. And they wanted to know really what the story was in the house. So they called Inspired Ghost Tracking in Maryland. And when we went in, that was actually one of my first cases with Inspired Ghost Tracking back in 2011. It turned out pretty horrific. There was myself and another medium. Troy Klein is the other medium, and he's
Troy's fantastic. Yeah, he is. He's terrific. And also, not to interrupt you, but before I forget, Rob has a great YouTube channel too, and I think often Troy is on there too, talking about cases with you and things like some of the best informational videos you've ever seen. I promise you that. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Rob. Go ahead.
Oh boy, you are really ramping me up. I can never live up to your expectations.
But they're so good. The information in there, things you don't hear anyplace else. Like, how you all have a piece of chocolate before you go in. Not just a prayer. Everybody has a group prayer that has a moment to say their own thing, and then the chocolate to help your endorphins, and just stuff that other people aren't talking about. I mean it. You already have lived up to my. Go ahead, keep going.
Yeah. And to Aunt Edna in the chat there, yes, I did say Maryland. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Hi, Aunt Edna. Hi, sweetie.
It's Inspired Ghost Tracking of Maryland.
There you go.
That's the group that I belong to. So, anyway, it's a fascinating case to read, and I strongly recommend that you get the case files of Inspired Ghost Tracking because. Mm-hmm. Long story short, we went in there not knowing anything, by the way. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. When we go in cases, Margaret Ehrlich, who's the manager and founder of Inspired Ghost Tracking, doesn't tell us anything about anything. Mm-hmm. All she says is that, would you guys do an investigation on this date at this time? And if we can, we both say yes. And then what she does is 1 hour before we go there, she emails us the directions. Mm-hmm. And she said, okay, you have just enough time to get there. So,
yeah.
We don't want to know anything anyway. We don't want to come in there with any previous knowledge. So long story short, and this is a fascinating investigation. We wound up talking to two women that were earthbound ghosts. Mm-hmm. And both of them were brutally murdered in this home. Mm. Everything that we felt and we were conveyed was proven in a police report. Mm-hmm. Everything. I mean, there was the way they were assaulted in multiple ways, and some of them were just horrific. Mm-hmm. And they shared those things with me and with Troy.
Right. And what he means, chat, is when a medium goes through this is horribly draining. I don't know how it is for you. I know talking to you a little bit about how you get the headaches and everything else, but most it's horribly draining, and they're actually showing you what they went through, aren't they, Rob? You and Troy both. And it was horrific. Weren't they mother and daughter-in-law or something? What I forget the relation. I forget.
Yeah, it was a woman and her daughter-in-law. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, great memory.
Oh.
So they share things telepathically with us, but one of the things that I find that ghosts and spirits like to do for me is share their pain of death, which I don't like, of course. Yeah. But I have to tell them to turn it off. I get it. Mm-hmm. And once I get it, I explain it. Mm-hmm. And actually, when I do reading Cisco, especially for pets, that turns out to be really important, especially to the pet parent, because it acts as a method of proof. Not to really get off the track here, but earlier this week, I was doing a reading of a Great Dane that was 8 months old. He passed away. I think he was 8 months old. He was a puppy. And the mom emailed me and said, can you find out what happened? Well, when I was sitting here at the computer and I looked at the dog's face, and with the dog's name, I asked the dog, what happened to you? Suddenly I felt a really heavy pain on the left side of my chest. Mm-hmm. And I started panting. Now I'm just sitting here at a computer, and so it was hard to breathe. And the dog showed me that there was a heart defect, and he was born with it. So, of course, I typed this up, and I sent it to her, and she wrote me back, and she said, that makes perfect sense because the dog's father, who sired the dog, also had a heart defect.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't think that the father passed it on to the puppies.
Mm-hmm.
But that's exactly what happened.
Wow.
So that's
when
ghosts.
so it is. It's like a validation of like that's even more proof because that's more specific. Animals can't really speak words like our loved ones can that are human. So to be able to show how what hurt them and stuff like that's amazing. I mean, they're using what they can, and that's really something. But it is very draining for the medium, especially the physical mediums, depending on how you're getting it. I don't know, Steve. Do you get that too? We're more empathic, Steve and I, but we have a hard time going through a diner or
places
mall,
I can't go, like a
Walmart.
children's hospital or nursing home or something
Yeah,
like
that's
that. It's
bad
just
too.
too much unless I'm ready for it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm with you, Dave.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely going to hospitals is crazy for me. Anywhere I toured a prison once here in Maryland that was being torn down, and there were a number of prisoners who decided to stay behind earthbound because they were afraid to cross over. And that was quite an experience. And that I think that's why prisons really are pretty haunted. I mean, these prisoners remember what they did when they were alive. Mm-hmm. Once they have clarity of mind on the other side, then they realize, how bad it was, and then they're afraid. So that's why they stay behind. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I wonder about these people that can go into Alcatraz and stuff and shut the doors and sit in the cell. It's not for me. Insane asylums, most hospitals. I won't. There's just things for me personally I wouldn't poke around in because I figure, my gosh, it's hard enough to deal with, explaining yourself and understanding feelings and communicating with them when they were alive. I can't imagine the anxiety and the confused states of any ghost that would be in an insane asylum. It just seems to me that, maybe we could get, a whole couple busloads of mediums just to go around the place and just cross everybody over, just like in a group, a big group thing, because it's individually, it just breaks my heart. Like these two women, obviously these two women, it was a mother and a daughter-in-law. And now they're showing you what they were put through. And from what I understand in this story, this was an assailant, with both of them present or something locked in an apartment. I can't remember exactly how the whole thing went down, but that's a huge burst of this energy and emotion. So where did they take you after they told you what had happened to them? And were they together telling you this, or individually, one with Troy, one with you, or were you both getting pieces?
They swapped.
Okay.
They both wanted their stories to be told, and that's what's really interesting is that when you're a medium and you're trying to make sense of what transpired, at first we thought it was a domestic dispute because that's the first thing you think of. There's a murdered woman speaking to us, and she's projecting the image of a man. So to us, that said, "Oh my gosh, it may have been a domestic thing," but it wasn't a domestic thing. There's much more to it, and I don't want to give a whole lot away there, but I just think that everybody who's interested in exploring the paranormal or wants to go on investigations should really read the case files of Inspired Ghost Tracking, because you really feel like you're going into these houses with us, because that's the way that I wrote it. By the way, because I like to write, they pinged me to write all the reports right after the investigation. So I used the reports to create the stories. So you'll feel like you're walking right through the house.
Right on through it. So, okay, without giving too much away, where did this picture show up now? Was this an orb? Was it in a mirror? What the picture that we showed, and I can show it again, with the face in it. Was this an orb?
It was from an orb, yes.
Okay.
So an orb is basically a round ball of light, for those who don't know. But
Right.
it was actually in the top right-hand corner of the orb. Now, the only way that I've been able to designate orbs as genuine is if they have colors or designs or faces in them. Otherwise, if they're white, they're reflections. They're reflections of bugs and pollen and dust and something like that. That's just my experience.
And that whole book is filled with the different investigations and stuff. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so you asked where we got this, and we got this picture right outside of a furnace room in the basement.
Oh.
When we came in, the two of us, the two mediums, we were both drawn to the basement. Because, normally if there's a domestic situation, it usually happens upstairs in the bedroom or in the kitchen or something like that. But we were drawn to the basement. And we went into this. When you get to the bottom of the stairs of the basement, there's a furnace room. And you have to walk through this very narrow furnace room to get into this, what used to be a garage. It was made into like a playroom or something. When you got in the furnace room, it felt like you were walking through a pool of water. There was so much energy there, so much residual energy left from crazy emotions. And the orb was right outside of that. And we found out that the women were murdered in the basement. And their bodies were dragged through, they were still alive. They were dragged out of the basement door there, right through the furnace room. So, it's really horrific. It's probably the most horrific case I've been on because it involves murder. Most of the other cases have been people who died of natural causes or something else in their own home or visiting a home.
Wow. What do you think about that one, Steve?
Yeah, that's incredible.
Have you ever seen, now I've seen herbs with faces in them, but not that clear. I think one of the most intriguing orb, I know I've mentioned it on this show before, was the one at CeeLo Drive that was taken right outside the Sharon Tate.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
With the house is no longer there, but there's a new house built, but right in that area. And it was a double orb. It was like an orb with another orb inside, as if a pregnant woman. And that gets me. Yeah, I'd never heard of that before. Now, whether that's something that happens all the time or that's just what they were projecting as, I don't know. But that one was incredible, and this one too, Rob. So that one is in that book. What cases in the book you wanted to talk about would you like to bring up? Because I've not read the one that you want to talk about. So, I've not got that one yet.
Yeah, so that's Ghosts and Spirits Explained. That's the name of it. Okay. And it's actually it's kind of a shorter book. And what I did is, so I have to tell you, my very first book that I published was called Ghosts and Spirits.
Okay.
That's where I came up with the idea, the difference between a ghost and a spirit, and how they use energy in different ways, and so forth. That book had become so outdated that I retired it, and I totally rewrote it, and I highlighted 3 of the main stories and elaborated on them. But I have so much more information in there. So it's like it's basically a guide for people who want to know the difference between a ghost and a spirit, and how their differences are, what their similarities are, how they communicate. And then I have some really cool stories about how the 2 different entities I've experienced. It also includes a story about when I went to Dr. Mudd's house. Do you know Dr. Mudd, Samuel Mudd?
Yes. Isn't he the one with that? Wait a minute. He fixed John Wilkes Booth's leg.
Look at you! She's such a historian.
Your name is Mud. I know my Lincoln stuff, yeah. Oh, we can get into some conspiracy stuff, what happened in the barn, too, but I'm sure that's not where you want to go. So you go right ahead. But yes, Dr. Mud, yes, they found Booth's boot under the bed. They should have hid that a little bit better. I think that's what did him in.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. They didn't even mention that when I was there touring.
No?
No. Somebody needs to be a docent over there. I think we have a job for you.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Well, tell us about it. What did he do? What about Mud? Did you met Mud? Was he? I bet he's sorrowful. He's got to be.
Well, here's what's interesting about Dr. Mudhouse is that, it's been featured on a number of different paranormal TV shows. I think Ghost Hunters went out there. Mm-hmm. Steve, do you remember what other groups went out there by chance?
I don't right off the top of my head. I know there's been 2 or 3 at least.
Yeah, probably Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters, Ghost Nation, more than likely.
I'm trying to. Did Dead
Tennessee
Files
Wraith
ever
Chaser.
go out there? Yeah.
I don't know if Dead Files did. I don't know if Amy did or not.
All those shows kind of run together for me after a while. I can't remember who did what on what show, but I've seen more than one.
I've got to be honest. I've not heard too much about his house being haunted, but now that you mentioned it, just off the top of my head, I'm thinking that I'd heard he was not very remorseful. Like he you heal the leg. You know what I mean? And I remember a story in West Wing on that, where the woman who was a doctor, she said, you heal the leg. It doesn't matter what happens to you after the fact. You first you do no harm and you heal the leg. And I never forgot about that. And I thought, maybe he wasn't a conspirator really at all. He healed the leg. I don't know, but that's where I'm sitting. What do you think, Steve? Anything on Mud?
That sounds like it would make the most sense. Mm-hmm. That whole thing is just so weird. I read just a couple of years ago about somebody that's researching the Lincoln assassination to write a book now, and they started receiving death threats. What? I mean, that's pretty far-reaching for something that happened that long ago, if there's still some kind of cover-up going on.
Wow.
So really, anything that comes out of that wouldn't surprise me.
Well, maybe Dr. Mudd told Rob something. Let's find out. Did you get to talk to him, or is it him first of all, or somebody else haunting over there, Rob?
Oh no, it's him.
Okay.
It's definitely him.
Okay.
So there are actually 2 books that I referenced the Dr. Mudhouse. In the other one, the one that I mentioned earlier with the double murder, this one, Case Files and Inspired Ghost Tracking. Mm-hmm. There is a photograph that one of our investigators took of the shadow of a man walking down the stairs. That's within the book. Case Files of Inspired Ghost Tracking. And you can see that picture in that book. It's very clear that it's a silhouette of a man. Now, that happened separately from me. I went to the Mudhouse, I think it was in 2009, before I even joined Inspired Ghost Tracking, before I even knew about them. Mm-hmm. And Dr. Mudd was inside. As a matter of fact, one of the things that really got me, the first time I was in there, is we were standing in one room. We were standing in the dining room, I think, and the docent was talking in the parlor, which is the adjacent room, where John Wilkes Booth was brought inside after he came to the door. And I was standing against the wall, and somebody tapped me on the shoulder. But I was standing against the wall, and there was nobody next to me.
Nobody,
And I turned and I looked. I thought, I'm standing against the wall.
Yeah, how did something,
So this was 2009. I started with IGT in 2011. So I didn't know what to make of it. But as I went through the house, he kept tapping me everywhere. I mean, everywhere.
Yeah.
And it was unnerving. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Mm-hmm. So finally, I actually heard him in my head. And what he said was, I am innocent.
Okay.
He said,
wow.
I am innocent.
Wow.
So from that, I get that he was not involved with the conspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
They knew of him. Obviously, because doctors were very few and far between.
Right.
Back in 1860, what was it? 1865.
Right. It was
They were few
nothing
and
to
far
ride a
between.
horse way over
Yeah.
to the other side of the town to get the doc and bring them back. It could be a day's ride or whatever. I mean, but it's true. But if you think about it just logically and you do a little CSI and a little common sense, I mean, John Wilkes Booth didn't know that he was going to jump off the balcony and sic semper tyrannis and all this other stuff and break his leg. So why would he set up to go 11 miles, I think it was, out of his way, or was it more, Rob, out of his way to the doctor's house for? Why would that be part of the plan if he didn't know he was going to break his leg? So when they added Dr. Mudd to the end and said he was part of the conspiracy, I always thought to myself, he got tossed up with the whole thing. I think that personally me, I think that Mrs. Surratt was the same way, because I think she was just an older what's the word for it, Steve? A spinster kind of person who was running a bed and breakfast, and here's all these young men here's John Wilkes Booth, who was like one of the most famous actors, he and his brother, right? And he's got all this fame, and he's paying attention to her. You see what I mean? So to hang her and say that she supplied the meeting house, it's kind of twisting it a little bit. I mean, I don't know. It's just a guess. But, as somebody older who, loved the attention and they're meeting there, I didn't hear handing, rifles out the back door or nothing. She gave him coffee and tea, I think. And she probably laughed at his jokes. I mean, for that, you hang her, I'm just saying. It seems weird, but he said he was innocent. And did you ever get anything else off of him? But what were you feeling at the same time? Were you feeling that he was trying to clear his name, that he was confused, or could you tell?
No, he was trying to clear his name. He's frustrated, and that's the reason. That's the reason why he stayed behind as Ghost, because he's trying to clear his name. That's why he never crossed over. That's the bottom line. And in the chat, Glenn Dannison noted that he did go to prison as a co-conspirator, and that's true. He did go to prison as a co-conspirator, but he was let out early when he wound up treating many prisoners who came down with a flu, I believe. I think it was the Spanish flu, and so he was one of the only doctors in the prison, and he took care of all the prisoners. So they attributed that as time off for good behavior.
And also the Surratts owned some property near Mudd's home. It's very possible that they knew, I mean, you'd have to really...
I too.
Yeah, but it just seems to me that, he would... I've often thought of him throughout my life and thought that I thought he just got caught up. He might have been on the side and knew about it, might have been in agreement with their cause. Who knows? I don't know. But it just seemed, off to me, that whole thing, the way it went. Like they said in West Wing, Aaron Sorkin basically wrote the words and said, "You fix the leg," And maybe that's what it was with him. So how is it there? Is there, I'm guessing, a museum of sorts and probably stories. How do they portray him? Do they portray him as a doctor just doing his thing? Or are they more portraying him there at his home like a conspirator?
It's more matter of fact.
Okay.
They don't speculate. And thanks to Glenn it is yellow fever. Thanks for...
Oh, good. See, we got some great people in here. There it is, yellow fever.
Smart people here.
I'm telling you.
They're on top of their history. So I couldn't remember.
Yeah,
that's right. I think the Spanish flu was 1918, right?
Okay, Mudd was pro-slavery. So, a sympathizer and who's with you and who isn't, which way to go, especially after you just shot the president and you're in fleeing, He didn't stay there very long, did he, Rob Booth? He was just there for a short amount of time and then took off, right?
As far as I know, yeah, it was an overnight, I think. And then he was cornered in a barn that they lit on fire. But I think everybody should visit the Dr. Mudd house because it's just full of history and mystery. So,
history and mystery. And they don't have John Wilkes Booth his boot there.
No,
they don't have his boot. You would imagine.
No. So on December 5th, I will tell you where I met John Wilkes Booth. So.
Yes, that's something to look forward to, chat. Rob's going to come back and do the 3 Christmas ghosts for Christmas, and I think that's going to be something. And also, we also always try to add in the fact that we know Thanksgiving and Christmas, the holidays, whether it's Hanukkah or what you're celebrating, Friendsgiving, whatever that may be, that you're missing some this year. Whether it's a furry loved one that always will have a piece of your heart, or someone else. And so anytime we bring Rob and I on, Steve is of the same mind, that just letting you know that they're around you all the time. Do you want to say anything on that, Rob?
How your loved ones are
always around.
Usually around birthdays, anniversaries, and holidays, and that's what I've come to find out. So especially, Thanksgiving, Christmas, all throughout the season, you may see some signs from them. You may hear somebody speak their name and referring to a different person, but the fact is that you heard their name, and that you were brought in front of these people who were going to speak the name of, like, your grandmother, so that your grandmother made sure that you were there at that time, at that location, so you could hear her name mentioned, so that you'd know she's with you. So
it's amazing the stuff that they can do, from just walking into a store and hearing a song that darn good and well wasn't on their loop for the last year, and you hear a song out of nowhere. That's happened to me more than anything. A song on the radio, and it's with my mother and my loved ones like that. They're coming out of the 60s and the 40s and the 50s, so it's not songs that are readily played on today's loop in a supermarket or a department store or your car radio, even, especially if you're not listening to a station like that. So, but they find a way to do it. And I've had people say, "Do you mean to tell me that they set this up and did this on this song would play?" I'm like, that's what I mean to tell you. I'm sorry, but it happens all the time. And the fact that we talk ourselves out of it, it just seems to me sillier to talk yourself out of it than to believe that your loved ones found a way to say, "I'm here, I'm with you, love lasts forever," and we're always connected to that love, because earthbound spirits show us the same thing, don't they, Rob? I mean, you're talking about crossing over or trying to figure how they see in their vantage point. I was talking about that with my son today, about cages that they seem to build for themselves. What do you want to call it? A cage or a box or a vantage point that's their own perception. Like, I'm stuck in this. Like the movie What Dreams May Come. If anybody ever saw that, where she wasn't, this woman who was in heavy grief, had lost a child. Heavy grief. And the man loved her so much. Spirits came by. I can't remember if they were spirits or angels or spirit guides. I can't remember who was walking him through this. But he had almost to go in to remind her of what love was, to break all that darkness apart and get the scales of darkness to fall away from her eyes so she could start feeling and hearing his words and letting the love light in. And she imagined herself in a greenhouse of nothing but black vines, and she's wearing black, and the water is black, and it's just all dark and dank. And as he's talking to her and getting her to forgive herself that she couldn't have saved their child and let go, everything started to lighten up. And that's how it is sometimes, isn't it, Rob?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's well said. I don't have anything to add to that.
How about you, Steve?
No, that's was well put. That's what I was just thinking. Rob took the words out of my mouth.
Well, I keep seeing it, and it's so funny because it's spirits that, you figure you do it the same way with people. All right, I have two people that don't know each other that are telling me the same thing. Well, I have two ghosts that don't know each other that are acting the same way. Now, in your book, you said that you're doing the difference between ghosts and spirits.
Mm-hmm.
Give us one of those. We often talk about, maybe your loved ones come to visit you in a visitation dream where lights, the colors will be brighter and the smells crisper. You can smell and you can hear. Everything is different, so it's more of that type of dream. Animals visit in this state all the time. My dog, Rob actually was the one who told me, keep telling your spirit guides before you go to sleep. Tell him to come visit you in a dream. Tell him that, let you know that he's okay. And by gosh, as soon as I forgot about it, that sucker came and visited me, and I could smell his fur. I could feel how his neck was and the little things that he did. Right there where I almost forgot that he turned around twice before he came back in for another hug because he was so excited. He had that chow tail thing kind of thing going on. But all of that was so real. But people do it too, don't they, Rob? They come to visit in dreams and, but that would be a spirit. Probably not an earthbound.
Yeah, so I found that earthbound ghosts, do not have the ability to really come into your dreams.
There you go.
That's the difference. That spirits who have crossed over can come into your dreams, but ghosts cannot. I mean, ghosts can stand next to you when you're sleeping and make you feel cold or make you feel badly, probably when you're sleeping, but they can't come into your dreams. So... And spirits come into your dreams to prove that they're okay on the other side.
Well, that's also a good hint then. The way you just said that, if you're getting a dream from a loved one, automatically they're okay because they've crossed over. They're not earthbound somewhere we have to worry about them and start, taking away how good you feel. Don't feel something just came to me, but I got to find the right words. Don't feel guilty because you feel good that during this dream you felt like your loved one was all right. You felt that love. Don't take that away from yourself the next day when you start thinking, I shouldn't be feeling good and I miss them so much. Try to remember how you felt in that moment because we do that. We take it away from ourselves too, just as quick as we get it sometimes. Many mediums will tell you that no matter how many valid points, that they give, that, you can talk yourself out of it. And I think people like that. I mean, it takes longer and some you can't really help because they're always going to question themselves out of the good feeling. But what I'm trying to tell the chat here tonight, during the holidays and everything else, instead of, I've seen people do the empty chair. Some people find that sad and some people find it happy where you make the plate and there's a chair and you set the place setting for the person who's missing. We do that in many of the American Legions and the all the different the Eagles Club and things like that. There's a whole table set up and made up for the missing, for those who went before us in remembrance. That's a cool idea. I use the ornaments, instead of looking at ornaments that my sister had or we had when I was kids or my mom had, I go, here we go, Mom, I'm hanging this one for you, or make them a part of it too, instead of feeling we can't get past the sad, but we can flip it and make it happy in a happy remembrance of it. Like, I remember we hung this tree. Remember the time I got the tricycle and, I fell and I skinned my knee. Bring it up and bring that vibration happier and include them in your celebration. What do you think, Rob?
Yeah, I think they want us to make their memories positive. That's how they want us to remember them. So they don't want us to wallow in sorrow and grief and misery and emptiness. That's not what it's all about. They had their time here and they continue to add to our lives from the other side. I wanted to take a minute, by the way, to address a question from Donnie that said, how would I explain nightmares?
Sure, go right ahead.
Yeah. So the way that I explain nightmares is that we have a lot of fears as living
Keep
people.
going.
Spirits don't have those fears. We have a lot of fears as living people, and sometimes they manifest themselves in our dreams um, in different ways. They can manifest themselves as like people who are trying to get us. That actually comes to symbolize maybe that you're having a hard time at work and you think that the boss is going to fire you or something like that. So nightmares are really propagated by um, things in our own life that we're experiencing, and we put different images associated with them. Um, you know, I have to tell you, when I was a teenager, I saw Jaws at the movie theater. I can't tell you how many nights I woke up yelling that there was a shark coming after me.
Yeah.
So it's things in our environment that tend to cause the bad dreams. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we have to call on our spirits of our loved ones to get them to counteract those
Mm-hmm.
bad dreams. Because
There we
I
go.
mean, life is about pressure. It's about pressure. It's about challenges. Life is not easy, no matter what anybody says.
100%. But we're supposed to enjoy the journey, right, Steve?
That's
Have
right.
you ever? Now, Steve has different kinds of dreams, but have you had any visitation dreams from spirits that have crossed over, Steve?
I'm not really sure. I think I have, um, especially family dreams and things like that. Although they're usually doing something strange or out of character for them. But then it's like that I realize in the dream that you've already passed on. But when I dreamed about the motorcycle guy that we had to cross over, he came to
Yes.
me in a dream, and that was
Wow.
definitely a spirit.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that was like almost like a whole different thing, Rob, where he found a way. Oh gosh, it's hard to explain. He was coming to Steve in a dream a little at a time, and at first Steve was having like probably about 3 or 4, maybe 5 dreams at this point where he's seeing a motorcycle and it's like partially covered up in an embankment, like it took a curve and just bit the side and went into the dirt. And as time was going over and time elapsed, it was going more and more into the dirt. Meanwhile, about the third or fourth dream, he realizes he's hearing a voice in the side of his head is coming from under the tree. He goes to look and he can see a bit of a boot. In the next dream, he can get a little more, and you look underneath the bough of this heavy, weeping pine cedar type tree is a body leaning against this tree. He calls me at 3 o'clock in the morning. I get one of my Steve calls, Cisco. I think I know where a body is.
We were looking for a motorcycle. I thought we're going to solve. This guy's ran off the road. The bike's covered up with dirt and weeds and stuff now, and there's a decomposed body under this tree. He crawled under there and died, and you can't see it from the road. But yeah, because I could see stuff in the background. I could see a brick chimney and features of the landscape and stuff. We were actually looking at Google Maps
Trying to find it.
out where it was.
And it looked so run down, like the school, like it was a broke down, run down building, and it looked like somebody had started construction but never finished it. And like this guy could have been there since for whatever. But it was also interesting in the fact that it was very much like American Werewolf in London, where each time he saw him was a little more composed, a little more.
I could
Yeah.
see the ribs through the shirt that he had on, like it's like a plaid shirt under a jean jacket. And things like that, and it got worse and worse. I didn't want to look under the tree anymore.
Wow.
And it was also too at the same time Steve's picking up. I'm telling you this case because I don't know if you ever heard one like this before, Rob. I mean, just to try to figure out how in the world does this happen. So again, he's days and days, and each time you're getting an extreme sense of urgency, right, Steve? It's like hurry up, hurry up, hurry up.
I dreamed that.
But
Not
he's also
every night, but several nights over 6 weeks or something. And finally, when I started putting everything together, that was when I tried to get Cisco involved. So let's go find this guy.
Yeah. So I start looking into it. We're looking into it. I'm getting my thoughts. That's when he kept playing me Cool Breeze. He kept playing me. They call me the Breeze. Every time I got a car, 3 times. 3 times.
Now she's talking about the dead guy, not me.
Yeah, he's playing this song to me, and I said, I think he's either trying to reference, I'm going through the lyrics. You don't know what they're trying to tell you. Is it the lyrics, whatever? Is it the place? I mean, it was really getting crazy. So the last time the song comes on, I come into and again, this isn't a song that you play often on the radio station I was listening to. It was 3 times I got in the car and it was on in some point of the song. I go and I see another friend who's a medium, and I don't normally get readings. I sat in front of her and I got Steve's permission to let her help with his energy and stuff and open up and everything. I sit down, I say nothing, and I said, I'm here for whatever you need to tell me. She says, well, first off, quit looking for the motorcycle. It's got nothing to do with the motorcycle. This has to do with it. I mean, just like that, she picked it up. But he wouldn't talk to women, Rob. He would only talk to Steve. So when he spoke to my friend, who again has a lot of ability, she sees differently than I do. He's got his back turned. He doesn't want to look at her, but he'll talk to Steve.
He was ashamed of something all of us. Done. Plus, I rode a Harley for years, and I think there was some brotherhood camaraderie there.
He made some kind of connection, and then we found out that he didn't want to cross over because he didn't want to face his mother because of the things he had done. He knew she was going to be disappointed in him. And basically my friend and a couple other people and all of us sending good thoughts and energy basically sent for his mother to come and get him. She got his mother some kind of a connection there.
Get him by the ear and take him over.
Tell Rob the dream without knowing what happened in the afternoon, because I couldn't get a hold of Steve. Tell Rob the dream you had that night, Steve, about him walking away. Who was he walking away with in the dream?
Just a little old gray-haired woman. She came up not even quite to his shoulder, and she had him by the arm and was just carrying him. I said had him by the ear, but I was being facetious there. But yeah, I saw him walking away like into the light, literally.
Wow.
And that was the last time I ever dreamed about him.
And he had no idea that she and I and another person were working together to go get his loved ones to come across and show him it was okay. And he has the dream. It takes a village, Rob.
He wasn't decomposed anymore.
Yeah.
Either he was whole at that point. He was like this big, hulking dude, and he was restored, and that was it. But
I can't explain it.
One of the strangest experiences I've ever had.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Wow.
I mean, just to think of this, the energy, how the use of connection into, apparently he found some kind of connection with Steve. I don't know. We don't know if he was near the area. Was it a distant relative Steve's never known and that was the connection? Was it just how in the world? There's so many different questions. It's absolutely mind-boggling. But it worked. It's crazy.
So how many other people have you found? How many other dead people have you found, Steve?
I've seen some
that you can talk about, Steve.
That I knew what was going to happen, but I didn't have any way to stop it. Those used to bother me. I had a dream one time. I just laid down and went right to sleep, and I saw a pyramid of concrete drainage pipes, and a guy was walking by, and the pyramid they weren't secured, and it collapses, and one of them rolls over this guy. I mean, I saw everything. It's just the goriest sight I've ever seen. And I could tell that the construction site was somewhere in the south because of the red clay mud and the shale and stuff. And there were a lot of pine trees and stuff. But again, one of those things. And then I think it was maybe a month or so later, I saw an article in the newspaper where that very thing had happened on a construction site in another part of Tennessee. I was living in Tennessee at the time. But it just, I agonized over that for years. Like, why would I dream something like that? Why would I see something like that was going to happen, but I had no way to do anything with it or to do anything about it? And somebody who's versed in those things said that's just whatever's out there letting you know that there's some things you can change and some things you can't. They're
Yeah,
just going
that's
to
true.
happen regardless. I mean, what could I could have, went to the news or something, got the radio on the papers, stay away from construction sites with conduit, concrete drainage pipes that are 3 feet in diameter. But there was no way to, other than just what clues I could pick up from the landscape.
In
It
that
could have
case,
been
a lot
any
of times,
construction site from Tennessee to Florida or to Georgia. It could have been in Florida, no sand.
it can almost be a burden sometimes, right, Rob? I mean, if you learn how to shut it off before you learn how to control everything. I mean, when you were growing up, at what point in time did you get control over your gifts? Was it early, or are you still feel like maybe you don't have it? I mean, it's hard to say, because you said earlier, I shut it down, I shut it off. There's so many people out there would love to learn how to do something like that. Do you have anything in your books on information like that for people?
Really, you so my first experience was 13 when I saw my grandfather, but I really didn't think about it afterward. I didn't dwell on it. I think that if you get preoccupied with your life and you're trying to figure out, your path in life, and if you go to school or if you're looking for a job, or if you're trying to start a family or adopt a pet or something like that, you're just so focused on your life here that it's like, I liken it to sitting in a crowded restaurant, and there could be a table right next to you, and they're talking, but you can't hear what they're saying. That's
Okay.
kind of like it is when you get involved in your own life. But Steve, I wanted to bring something up that's really important, and that is that everybody has different gifts, and your gift is pretty amazing. It's somewhat horrifying, but it's pretty amazing. I mean, when you can foretell the death of somebody. I met one person before that had that ability, and it freaked her out. Someone in the chat mentioned that too. I think it was Aunt Edna there mentioned that she had that ability. But so that's a gift, and we just have to figure out what it means or how to use it. Your other gift of dreaming to help people bring closure to their earthbound life is another amazing gift. I like to tell people too that there is a difference between psychics and mediums, and I am not a psychic. I'm just a medium. That's another gift. A medium only talks to people and pets who pass. A psychic is one that I found that tunes into energies of past, present, and future, and they're the ones, like tarot readers usually are psychic, because they can tap into those energies and tell you whether or not you should take a job, or whether you should move, or get another car, or break off your relationship, or something like that. I can't do that. So we've just talked about 4 different gifts to do with energy and spirit, and there are many more other levels out there.
It's amazing. And I think a lot of people have gifts. And Edna here said that she shut it off. It was scary and frustrating. A lot of young people do too, where they're just coming into it. I mean, look at Sixth Sense. I mean, I know a 3-year-old that can see just like that. And he sees people, earthbound spirits, popping up in their death state. And these kind of things can always lead to being misdiagnosed, schizophrenia, all these different things, and, different stuff. So that's one of my big things, is being able to reach out to, people that are struggling with this and trying to learn how to shut everything down, depending on what you have. Because I know Steve has been frustrated by that. The worst thing in the world is to see a tragedy happen and not be able to stop it.
Something's going to happen and not be able to stop it. But I think that's one of those things, like what we did with the motorcycle guy, where each person took their individual gifts and put it together in like a big gift. And between the 3 of us, we were able to get closure for the guy. But it took all 3 of us. It wasn't anything that any one of us could do without energy and insight from the other.
It took us all. It took us all, and like I said, sometimes it takes a village, and I think that's a beautiful thing, because it's no different than if you go in with a group, investigating, and everybody's using their particular talents, whether it be tech or being a medium, or just a sensitive and an empath, or whatever, and putting them all together to help somebody. Dragon had a question here. I was told that I was an observer watcher. Your thoughts on that, Cisco, Rob, and Steve? I'm going to let you guys take that one. What do you think about that one, Steve? And then we'll get Rob's.
Well, that's kind of what I was told on things like that. That sometimes you see things and you know what's going to happen, but there's not anything you can do to change it. Mm-hmm. So in that respect, you do become a watcher or an observer. And I don't know what purpose that gift serves, but mm-hmm. it must be there for some reason.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Rob? Same?
Yeah, that reminds me of people that experience deja vu.
Okay.
Because we know exactly what's going to happen, and we're in the moment, and no matter what you try to do to change it, you mm-hmm. can't change it. So that's kind of a lesson that, Steve, even though you can see these fatalities going to happen, you can't change it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know the reason why we are given these gifts. Mm-hmm. And I have to tell you, I always liken my gift to a superpower. That's what I call it, because I'm a big superhero fan. So I think collectively, the three of us are like the Justice League of America.
Cool. Well, I ought to have is being bitten by 5 brown recluse spiders. I ought to be able to at least get me some spider webs going. I can't get anything to shoot. That would be so cool to be able to swing above people that are always in my way, and I can move a lot faster than them. But that would be neat. I'd love to climb buildings. On warm days,
during the holidays, if you invite somebody over that you don't like, you'd be climbing the walls.
There you go. So true. Absolutely. Yeah, we all got to deal with that. But that's funny too. I wonder if you guys ever heard that. I think in my family, a lot of people shut it down. I know, especially the women that were much closer to their native heritage, going through the bloodline and stuff. I know they shut it down out of fear. You weren't allowed to let people know who you were because it was dangerous in their time. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't very long ago. But I think that was part of it too. There wasn't any, they didn't disbelieve. Especially growing up in the ones that stayed in the farmhouse that was extremely haunted that I lived in. But my father didn't want to hear about it, so everybody didn't talk about it because you didn't want to set my father off. He was an alcoholic and very abusive and the nonsense, So I know that's a lot of different reasons that people shut things off. Fear, you don't want people to think that you're weird or different, and misunderstanding, misdiagnosis by, and I'm certainly no doctor, but, people do get misdiagnosed with schizophrenia. And I had a friend who was sitting on my couch saying that the guy was not in the chair. And I'm like, but I see him too. You know what I mean? So I don't know if you can have a lot of the mental illness too. And then that also, how does that work, Rob? Have you ever come across that where people are getting told they have mental illness, but they have this gift, and then by then it's so scrambled you don't know how to unravel that?
Well, yeah, as a matter of fact, I do have a story for you.
Okay, great.
About that very thing.
Okay.
So back in May of this year, a friend of mine contacted me and said that her friend, or I think her cousin, that has a vacation home in Ocean City, noted that their young daughter kept hearing scratching on the windows, and there were no tree branches anywhere near, and she felt like she was being strangled. And when she left that home, when returned to her regular home, she felt the same kinds of things. She also saw a face in the window. So this is a case that's not we haven't I haven't written it up yet, but so I called Troy in, and then Troy and I got on the phone with my friend and her cousin and her cousin's daughter. What we found out is I think her cousin's daughter, the one that had these experiences, has maybe somewhat autistic. And I also find that people with autism also have the ability to sense ghosts and spirits. But she was seeing, apparently she talked to a doctor about this, and they thought that it was some kind of a mental illness. So that's when my friend called me and Troy and said, hey, can you guys get on the phone with her and try to figure out what's going on? Well, as it turned out, when she went to this vacation home, there was the ghost of a little girl who was inhabiting this vacation home, who died in Ocean City, and connected to this living girl who was around the same age because she thought she could help her. Troy and I wound up crossing this ghost girl over via phone. And months later, we connected with them again and found out that she was doing much better. She hasn't heard anything. She hadn't seen any images or ghosts or faces or anything like that. So yeah, you bring up a good point. The first diagnosis was there's a mental illness with this young girl, and that wasn't the case at all. She was actually truly being haunted. And the reason is that Ghost Girl could identify with her because they were around the same age. So yeah,
and see, that's just it. I'm finding out toward the last years that have gone by. One of the major things that I have really become comfortable with is that, like Steve's cool breeze, and connected into him for a reason. We don't know what. What the connection was, the energy wise, whatever. Could have been that they both rode Harleys. It could have been anything. We don't even know where he was when he connected into Steve. We hear this a lot too. Did you go to an antique place and bring back, you might not have bought anything, but something might have connected to you and attached to you because it connected with your energy. And now we've got this little girl too, and multiple other stories where a ghost connected to that little girl that she felt like she could help, and they crossed him over the phone, which is cool. So there is no boundaries to this. I mean, I've had people that have crossed, and I knew they were going to get stuck. I knew they were going to get stuck because of their beliefs, because of how they went out, because of their personality when they left. And I think that's also one of the reasons in many different religions and cultures, and from tribal all the way through, there's some type of death ritual that we go through to honor the dead. Even elephants have this. This is an absolute thing. Dolphins, so many different, because they want that loved one to go out with the love. And I think that's the main point, the protection and the love. You said there was other stories too that both Steve and Rob had that were about spirits in a house protecting the living from something harmful, or spirits helping other spirits from something harmful. It's a multi-layered subject, and I don't know that we'll ever get all of the answers. Maybe not even after we cross. We'll come back and I'll go, nope, still don't understand it. Right. I think that's what we'll all wind up doing. I'll tell you, fellas, this hour and a half has gone amazingly fast. I can't thank you enough, Rob, for coming in. You're going to come back, aren't you, on December 5th?
like a bad penny.
You were the surprise for my chat tonight. I hope you guys loved the surprise. They keep saying how much they love you, and it is a great conversation. Anytime we all get together and just to talk about this and knock around, ideas and what do you think today? Because how many times you've been on a case, Rob, that it just added another layer to this wonderful subject. It's like there's something else to think about, and I know Steve and I do it every week, don't we, Steve?
Yeah, so that paranormal onion.
Paranormal onion. Keep peeling back those layers. Well, I'll tell you, let's everybody tell where the chat can find you. They're throwing up all your links, Rob, to your books, and also for you, Steve. Go ahead. You want to kick us off, Steve, or where everybody can find you?
Yeah, I'm on Missing Persons and Mysteries. That's my main channel. We just broke 127,000 subs, so I'm excited about that. Excellent. And then I have my midnight show, Ghost Stories at Midnight, on 13 past midnight. We do that 7 nights a week. It's times changed. I think since the last time I was here, starts at midnight Eastern now instead of midnight Pacific, so we go 3 hours earlier. And my books are on Amazon and wherever fine books are sold, as my publisher likes me to say. And I got a new one coming out. In fact, got one manuscript that's due tonight. That'll be out in mid-December, so look for it.
There we go. Wow.
What's the name of your new book?
This is National Park Mysteries and Disappearances, Volume 3, the Pacific Northwest. It'll have Oregon, Washington, and Idaho in this volume.
Wow.
He does all the mysterious mysteries of disappearing people, and it's not just people that got lost and then were found. In some cases, are that.
But
some were
a lot of them have a supernatural element.
Right. Yeah, he does quite a few of those, and a lot of lore and things like that.
First one was about
there it is.
Great Smoky Mountains National Park, because I grew up there, near and dear to my heart. Volume 2, California, covering Mount Shasta, Joshua Tree, and Yosemite. And then, of course, I've always my Strange Things in the Woods, which is stories that I collected from family and friends over the years, and My Strange World, which is my own paranormal experience.
And then we got ours.
The one we did together.
If everybody's slinging books, I'm pulling mine out.
Yeah, pull yours out.
There you go. Whoops, can't see it. That's mine and Steve's. We are all children in the wilderness, the afterlife, a guided tour through a haunted life. That's my stories and stuff. And, oddly enough, maybe we can close out with why I picked that title. I know I'm like the queen of long titles and stuff, but
took me a year to be able to say that without tripping over.
But the thing is this, it is like the last frontier, isn't it, Rob? It's like we don't really know. So what I mean by that is we come innocently into the afterlife at like a child because we're still learning. Everything is wide open in wonderment to us because we're digging and digging. We've got, wonderful people with gifts on this panel tonight, and we can't tell you definitively any, exact thing. The only thing all three of us can tell you definitively on that we're absolutely 100% sure of is love is the strongest emotion and love lasts. And that means for your loved ones, your furry loved ones are just as important. Don't let anybody tell you different. Rob and I will get together, and I know Steve will be in there too with a rake or a pitchfork or something, that if somebody tells you that your animal doesn't have a soul, you just call the three of us. Because I know I'll talk them to death, and they'll break.
So, Rob, what are your book titles again?
I just tell people that think animals don't have a soul to get a brain scan because there's nothing up there.
There you go. There you go.
Steve, I've got Pets in the Afterlife 1, 2, and 3. I've got Kindred Spirits, which this one about how I befriended a spirit that has been coming to me for 15 years.
Yep.
I've got Case Files of Inspired Ghost Tracking, if you want to go on a paranormal investigation. Lessons Learned from Talking to the Dead, Ghosts and Spirits Explained, and I'm probably missing one. I can't. Ghost of England.
Are those actual size?
Ghost of England, right here. This is fantastic, and I'll tell you,
I know they're not actual size. I was just kidding.
He's pretty brave for the actual. That's funny. But yeah, really talk about a medium going into England. You got to read that too, because everywhere you go, you think that there's more ghosts there, but I think they're just older, and the buildings and the history.
There's so much history there. I did a series for Unicorp's Tales channel that I wrote and produced.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Britain's Most Haunted. And that was one of my favorite series that I've ever done. I think we got up to part 3 or 4 on that. And she had to take a life break. When she comes back, we're going to continue that. But there's there's a lot that you've heard about. And then there's so many more that you've never heard of over there. It's just amazing.
I don't think we'll ever run out of great material for this subject. And I'll tell you, the thing that makes it great, because this has been going on a long time before we were here, and it'll go a long time after. I think the greatest part of what I enjoy about this journey is meeting everybody in the chat, the wonderful things that they say to make me laugh, to make me think. Glenn was saying he learned a lot tonight, and thank you. Well, Glenn, you taught us stuff too. You were throwing stuff up here too. It's all of us together just trying to figure this out and try to love each other through it. We're trying to love each other through the holidays. Thank you so much, guys, for coming on tonight for Monday Madness. Tonight was for the Gatekeepers, everybody in here, and all the listeners. Don't forget, TeePublic has got all of your new, you don't have to pick just one. You can pick any one you want. I put 4 different designs up there. Thank you so much. Thank you for helping me get monetized. And thank you so much for being the best live chat anybody could ask for. Thank you, guests, for being on tonight. We're going to have a little outro. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, Rob. Much love to you and your family. And you. Steve, have a great gobble day. And I love you all. I'm very thankful for all of you.
Chat, love you guys too. See my Stockton nights later tonight at midnight.
Come back. Can't wait till you come back. Go ahead. Good night, everybody.